I think the bull probably represents that 11-year span between us and my seeking some kind of validation from a masculine figure who is, older than me.
No, I think that was a wonderful breakthrough. Unfortunately, we're out of time for this session. I think it's time to start this episode of the Video Reformation Podcast. Welcome. I'm Ben Oliver.
I'm Justin Plant.
We're the co-founders of Storyboard Media and your guides to practicing effective video for business. We're like the Sir George Martin to your John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Everybody got that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Before we jump
into
Rolling
Stones?
Yep, the Rolling Stones. Black Crowes, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we jump into our topic today, which is bold video for business-related predictions for 2021. We have a new sponsor for this episode.
Counting Crows.
While we did,
I'm doing my own thing over here, but
yeah, no, that's okay. Nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. My mic's not even on.
No, in fact, you're completely muted. So we had the same sponsor for 2 episodes because it was basically one episode that we had to break down into a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm. Just for suspense.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's why. We wanted to give everyone a little holiday bonus this year, since no one's getting holiday bonuses this year. But our new sponsor, let's see, for this week, I think this is a market we've tapped into before and we've had some good success. So this is actually a new product, and the product is Placeborix. That's Placeborix, and we'll hear the full spot later on in the episode. Justin, I know you've tried it, and you can share your experiences with us after we hear the full spot for Placeborix. We also have a guest joining us again today, David Olson. David Olson is our content strategist, Storyboard content creative director, and also a
Gemini?
A Gemini and a power bull statue
collector.
Aficionado.
Yeah.
David, say hi.
I think just kind of, I think to...
I said David, say hi.
Hello, guys. I think to keep the canon consistent, we need to remember we established in the previous episode that I'm actually a Tiberius.
That's right.
That's true. Did anyone else catch me just totally...
I try not to look at
wrap around the spoon handle here into my mouth? That was a little off-putting.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Thanks for drawing everyone's attention to it.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure that we all got that.
Should we rewind? Get playback on that?
Yeah. Let's see that again. Maybe from the B cam here. There it is. I'm just narrating the replay as if it's not just happening in post.
Slow-mo.
Yeah. So let's see, David, you're back today, not just because we had you on in the last 2-part episode, but because last year you were a part of our coming up with our trends and predictions for 2020. And since we all did so well on predicting what was going to happen in 2020, we figured if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we're happy to have you back on the podcast here. We might have to create a 3rd chair for you here in the studio one of these days.
Yeah, no, this is fine. This works.
We don't have room for all of his bowls.
Yeah. Well, you can bring your bowls.
Okay. In that case.
I think the lag makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? So last year we discussed trends that we saw going into 2020. We spent the last 2 episodes reviewing those trends and A's pretty much across the board, just not to the extent that we thought would happen. This year, the intent for this episode is actually to double down and go with bold predictions for 2021. So not just like safe trends that we think we already see, but bold predictions for 2021. Because, we could all be dead by the end of the year, so why not go big?
I've read some of yours. I don't know that bold is the word I would use for...
Not for what I've written.
Oh, okay. That was a decoy?
That was a decoy. All right, so why don't we just kind of go around the table here? Why don't we start with David, and let's discuss one of David's bold predictions for 2021 as they relate to video for business.
I'm now realizing that when you said bold predictions, you weren't just like commenting on the fact that you put in bold on the outline predictions in bold. So I don't know how bold these are.
Do you want me to bold them right now? I've got it open. I can bold them.
I think that would be helpful.
So Command B. All right. Your first one is now a bold prediction.
Excellent. Thank you. So my first prediction is just the continued rise of user-generated content. That's versus influencer marketing. So what is the difference? User-generated content is content that is basically coming directly from your customers or your clients, where they're essentially leaving a review or tagging you on social media and saying like how much they love your product or your service or your business, versus influencer marketing, where you're actually hiring an influencer to essentially who like reflects your, you think they reflect your brand, your audience, etc. Why are we going to continue to see this? Because we're still going to be coming out of the pandemic marketing approach, which essentially forced people to, seek out. We can't like shoot. Well, we can, but it's more difficult to shoot ads and commercials. So why don't we just go directly to our customers who are already singing our praises on social media and just use that content to our advantage. There's kind of going to be a stockpile of that. The trend is going to kind of extend into 2021. But furthermore, I think that the authenticity from that and the affordability and the effectiveness that people see from that is just going to scalability. You're just going to see more and more of that, whether you like it or not. And you're already seeing
that's good marketing right there. More and more of it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And you're already seeing, I see like those ads that are obviously like fake versions of this. You've probably seen some of these. I certainly see them on like if you're watching Hulu or something. And you see some of these commercials where it's like someone has one of those like home chef things, and they're like, it's as if they're just giving their spontaneous review on YouTube or something. Many of those I think are just essentially paid ads that they figured out a cheap way to produce, but they're intended to look like very organic reviews by users. So yeah, I think we're just going to continue to see more of that. I think people will start to spot those fake ones. So there's a good chance that we'll see more genuine and authentic ones. And maybe there's some kind of incentive or compensation happening on the back end for people to do that. Yeah, that's what I imagine we'll be seeing a lot more of in 2021.
A little over a year ago, Justin, you and I were in San Francisco, and we met up with a guy who had a startup called
Viral
or Viral. Viryll. I think it's supposed to be viral, but and basically that, at least at the time, was a platform it was kind of a marketplace to connect user-generated content with brands. So it's a way for brands basically what it did was it scrubbed YouTube, and it looked for genuine user videos, start with the low-hanging fruit, a makeup tutorial. And so if they're saying they use L'Oreal whatever, that L'Oreal can actually go through and scrub all the YouTube videos and get pings for everybody who's mentioning L'Oreal in their makeup reviews. They can then view those, and then they can contact those YouTube users to then essentially license that footage, those YouTube videos. So I think that speaks exactly to what you're talking about, because it's where an influencer is basically hired to hawk something. What's a hawk?
I think it's
hired to hawk something.
I think it's part of a ham.
Yes. This is people who are already creating content without, like, the compensation is after the fact, and like you've done your review without necessarily knowing that you're gonna get compensated for it. It's that you make it, you put it out there, the brand finds it, then if the brand likes it, they reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to license this from you, and then you get to negotiate with the brand as the creator of content. But that is definitely a way to kind of keep it authentic, where, you know, it's not even hashtag ad, you know, where you're trying to make it seem not like an ad, because it wasn't an ad in the first place. You just ended up saying something nice and got paid for it later.
I wonder how long it will be until, like, Google has video reviews of, like, a restaurant where people can just with their webcam leave a review of the restaurant. They could, you know, if they're any good at editing or whatever, they could insert media and actually, like, put together something. I feel like that's because there's a lot more authenticity, and, like, instead of hiding behind John S.
That to me was kind of the biggest, like, I wonder how many people would actually utilize that if they can't hide behind the anonymity of it.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I mean, you could be there in the restaurant, you know, with your phone saying, you know, pointing at your plate saying, this is what the picture is on the menu. This is what came out. Do not come to this place. Or, I mean, there is a legitimacy and an authenticity to that, but then, yeah, it probably would be offset by people not being able to hide behind usernames and avatars.
I think that they do have on, like on Amazon and I think on Yelp, they have like tiers, you can hit a status as a reviewer.
Yep.
Right, where they've kind of done a verification process, and you've left enough reviews where some kind of moderator has looked at them and said, these are authentic. You're not just trying to sync people's star ratings, et cetera. And so maybe that's a way where they, like, roll it out to the people who they've already confirmed as, like, their top reviewers. And
to
they
set
can
a
actually
standard.
leave. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, what if they did it on Uber? Like, while you're in your ride, or right after your ride, drunk off your ass, record a video message about how great your driver was. That could be fun.
It's like drunk history.
Yes. Yeah, and for some of the reviewers, they would be seeing it for the first time when they watch it, you know, 3 weeks later or whatever. Okay, so the continued rise of user-generated content. It's clearly here in bold, so that's David's first bold prediction. Justin, what's your first bold prediction?
I'm saving my really bold one for the last one, but asynchronous video will become more commonplace as a business tool. It's already being used by, you know, I don't want to say advanced, but like early adopters for sales and that kind of thing. But I think in terms of like customer service, we'll be using it a lot more. I think it'll be used as a management tool. So many platforms like Drift and Vidyard and Wistia and all, they have all like more and more of these video companies are enabling people to leave asynchronous messages. And I think that it's such a easy way to get a message across in a very honest and like forthcoming way, using your video and your webcam. So I think asynchronous will just become a part of daily life.
I agree. Before we jump into discussion about it, for some new listeners, can you give a quick definition of asynchronous video?
Yeah, sure. As opposed to like a video chat in the morning, like we have our video call to kick things off in the day, kind of hit on some, you know, to-dos or whatever. So that would be like a live, everyone's included on that call. Asynchronous would be Ben emailing this or in Slack or wherever you may end up putting it, a video message of just him, and each of us can watch it on our own time at our leisure. And you'll, depending on the platform, you're more than likely to get some statistics as to who watched it, how much. So there's some good feedback there too.
Yeah, I think I've used it twice for internal comms this year, like 3 months apart. And to me, it's so much better than so as an introvert, I, like a lot of people, I like to like kind of rigorously plan out what I want to communicate in response to a client or to an internal team, or if I had to, reprimand an employee or something like that. There's so much benefit for a lot of people to be able to kind of like write out an email, because you can edit it and you can kind of, tamp down your emotion, and then you can like not send it and read it back later. Yeah. Right. And I felt a lot of that with the 2 uses internally for asynchronous video I've done with our team this year. One was, I was really upset about something that was half us, half the client. And I knew that I wouldn't be as emotional about it the next morning when we had time to talk about it. So I kind of, harnessed my frustration just to make the point that we need to address this particular situation. But knowing me, after I slept on it, if I waited till after the morning meeting or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But like, it was important to identify in the moment, hey, this happened. We need to address this. We need to figure out on our side what to do. And so it gave me an opportunity, one, to keep that like in the moment, but also give me a couple takes, right? So it wasn't like I demanded that everybody hop on a video chat right then and I just kind of lashed out at everyone. I was able to organize my thoughts, channel that frustration in kind of a positive, like, I'll get everybody's attention with the fact that I'm, showing some emotion here, but really make sure that I say what I want to say. And in both of the times that I've used it, I find it so much easier to formulate those thoughts when I'm like being recorded by a webcam, having to verbalize it, than even if I was like sitting there writing it out in an email. And being able to see someone's face, being able to see, to express the nonverbals as a manager is so much more powerful than just like writing a message or whatever. So I think you're dead on. Specifically from a management thing, I think asynchronous video, especially for sales teams and remote sales teams, it's going to be easier because it can start a conversation, right? Like as a sales manager, I can say to an individual salesperson of mine, hey, wanted to follow up on the so-and-so deal. How can I help you? Where are we with what like that stuff you could put in an email, but if there's a video message there, it just kind of like elicits a certain response that feels more like personal and and intimate is a weird word, but like it feels like a real conversation as opposed to, and think about it, with so much email, you kind of put your own emotions on what you think the person wrote also. So you impart your own tone on someone else's words in an email, whereas if you can see them saying even the same words, you get a better sense for their tone.
Like you're saying, the nonverbal communication. We talk about like how Grammarly, works in Gmail now, or in the past year it has, and it'll give you that little emoji at the bottom and says, this email sounds stern, or this sounds joyful, or whatever. Like, let's just sidestep that and just actually give you the, like, you took off your glasses at one point in that video you were talking about, and like rubbed your eyes, I think, and sort of, it's like, oh, Ben's frustrated.
Yes. Yeah.
But like, I get it. And then the side benefit of that, let's say some more information comes in between the time you send it, and you're like, you know what, maybe everybody doesn't need to see this. You could technically take it down or replace it or whatever if you wanted to, versus an email that's like permanently sent, and you're like, damn, I shouldn't.
It's true.
That.
Good point.
I found it to be really satisfying once I hit send and I've said my thing. Like, I didn't have to wait for people to come and like join and be a part of it. It's like, everybody here, let's do a roll call or whatever. Yeah. I can say it and I can send it, and it feels really good.
Well, and we've started using it. David, you've started using it really well in versions of things where we're seeking client feedback. Right. So you'll actually do an asynchronous video. Well, you'll do a screen share of the storyboards or the video itself in Frame.io with the notes, and you'll kind of walk through each thing. So there's the written word on the page, but then you're actually talking through what that means. And, being able to send that to a client at the end of the day, let them watch it on their own time, and then have a meeting scheduled for the next day to talk about it, they've got a better sense of what you did and what you addressed. And it just makes that whole client review process a lot easier too. Justin, you've done it for a while on sending contracts and proposals, right? Where that it's hard, especially when it's a proposal where somebody isn't committed to you as a client yet, and so they don't feel like they necessarily have to give you the time.
They just look at the bottom line.
Yeah. So you at least have your opportunity to say your piece.
Yeah.
Walk them through it, and they may they may take the attachment and go to the price part, but then they can. But at least you don't have to see that, right? How annoying is that? We used to do it in person too. You'd put like the proposal across there and people just go to the last page while you're like setting up your whole narrative for your pitch. And they see, $87,000 and then
they stop listening.
They stop listening. But at least you got to, in an asynchronous video, at least you've shared like the
giving
pitch
them
you
an
want to do
opportunity.
it. Yeah.
If they have questions or whatever, they can at least go watch this 4-minute video.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Ben, be bold.
All right. My
Control B for Ben.
So here's how I set up mine. A not bold prediction followed by then a qualifier that makes it a more bold prediction.
Okay.
So I would say the beginning of my prediction for 2020 is that in-person events rebound. But they evolve into a hybrid live, in-person, virtual kind of event that has to cater to both live and virtual audiences. So we saw there is a huge market and has been for quite a long time, especially in the B2B space, for whether it be having a table at a trade show or hosting your own user conference, that kind of thing. Events budgets were always huge. And where everybody seemed to scramble this year was when nobody could travel. What do you do? And so people kind of used Band-Aids and Zoom and Facebook Live to kind of piece together these opportunities to get some of their users, prospects together, at least on the same virtual meeting, but they do not have the benefits that these live events have. Given that we will, over the course of Q1 and Q2, see the vaccines start to roll out, I think the second half of the year is when we're going to see live, especially people who've traditionally done an annual event, start to have those live events again second half of the year. But I think we've reached a tipping point with virtual events where a lot of people are just going to choose not to travel. Mm-hmm. A lot of companies are probably going to tell their employees they can only attend an event if it's a virtual event because the companies don't want to pay for airfare and hotel and all that kind of stuff. And then of course there are going to be people who are going to be wary of traveling. Maybe there'll be coronavirus spikes in certain places around the world, and so people won't be able to travel to or from those areas. And so what you'll have is this traditional live event that also has people viewing online, and those are two very different audiences. I mean, attrition is certainly a point for each of them because if you think, we've talked about it before when we talk about events, you're flying someone out to a really cool location, right? You're deliberately making your event happen in a cool city, but then you're almost shooting yourself in the foot because why would they want to sit around and listen to your presentations and your keynote and whatever when they could go explore this amazing city? So you've got that attrition that you're still going to have to combat, but now you've got these, it's even easier for somebody to just open another tab in a window. Mm-hmm. So keeping the attention of both the live audience and the virtual audience is going to be kind of an expanded problem. Historically, keeping people in the seats. This year, keeping people on the Zoom. Starting next year, you're going to have to deal with both. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to set it up so that there's content for the people who are in the seats and there's content for people on Zoom, whether it's that engaging content or a video presentation or whatever. It's got to work on the projector and it's got to work on the live stream. Mm-hmm. So those are going to be some technical but also some psychological challenges that I think we see by kind of getting back to the way events have been done, but now having to adopt this new virtual only aspect of it.
Yeah, funny, I was just talking about this with our mutual friend Jonica last night, not in a business context, but for her wedding. She had a virtual streamed wedding on Facebook that family members who weren't able to attend in person could watch and kind of respond to. There's some interactivity happening there, but then 20-something people at the actual event. It would very much surprise me if this didn't become a popular thing to do at your wedding. Well, now it's just it'll become standard to just have a virtual setup at your wedding. Again, that's not in a business context, but you can imagine why not? If you already have the infrastructure and the equipment in place to do it, you might as well, set up that virtual option and expand your audience, whether it's a wedding or a conference.
Why am I all of a sudden anxious about like getting to the reception and finding my place card and it says Ben Oliver virtual table? And then I have to go sit at the table with like just other webcams. Moving on.
Mine's related. That was one of mine about live events. So I'll probably just kind of jump onto this one for a minute. Yeah. I think they're going to become more sophisticated as well. To your point, keeping people's attention on the internet is really tough. And so I think the production value and the programming, if you will, is going to be a lot better as opposed to what happened this year, which was just, oh shit, let's put it on Facebook live. I think people are going to put a lot of thought and energy into making what we're filming one. Well, I guess this will, when you're hearing this, we will
just
have
recently filmed one. Yeah.
And I think the programming is great. We've got other, pre-recorded stuff that we're going to fold in. We've got live guests, several people involved as presenters. And some of that is remote. Some of that is in studio. So I think that the technology around live events online is going to increase as well. I think the ability to, I don't know why a Mac can't be the Blackmagic A10.
Right.
That could be your switcher. Why do we have to buy something? I mean, you could plug one of those dongles in and have 4 different inputs and be switching everything. So I think the technology is going to catch up to that as well. And you're going to see a lot better produced events.
Yeah. And I mean, you can imagine, I think we talked about this when we were discussing ways to sort of punch up virtual events and make them more engaging, reduce attrition rates and that sort of thing. And you can see how companies with the means to do so could get creative. And, you could sign up for a conference and pay a fee and have like a box shipped to your house that has like swag and like a cocktail kit, things like that. And it's like after your celebrity, B2B celebrity speaker gives an address or something, we're going to do a cocktail hour, and everybody has their own little cocktail kits at house. And the mixologist shows you how to make it, and then you network like cocktail hour virtual. And then the next thing is like another piece, you could just find different creative ways to make these really interesting and fun without necessarily being in person. So
we weren't supposed to drink that yet?
No.
Oh.
Don't drink it until queued.
Okay.
Yeah. I forgive me if this exists and I'm just not aware of it, but imagine if Zoom had a level or another platform that was going to specialize in these kind of hybrid events. What if as a virtual viewer, you've got your own little square, your own little private chat option, and then it's got like, your name, the same thing that's on the card on the lanyard when you're at the event, right? It says your name, your company, and your job title or whatever. I mean, imagine if you had a mixologist doing a happy hour like that, but then you've got like 150 attendees on the right side of your screen, and you could sort them by industry, or you could target, companies that your company is prospecting or whatever, and you could then chat, like ping that person for a one-on-one chat, either by text or you hop into like a breakout room kind of thing, the two of you. that would be pretty
or
close
choose to go watch the product demo or the roadmap
Yes,
session
yeah.
or whatever and jump to different rooms.
Yeah. And I mean, that's basically just a digital version of walking through those conference halls, picking, conference room A, B, or C, or ballroom 1, 2, or 3. Or, who do you want to approach when you're standing at the, the coffee line with them or whatever. Yeah.
Certainly be a lot easier to find that CEO you're trying to sell to.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody listening has got to have the access to.
Holt, you do it.
Holt's on it. All right. All right. Well, that's round 1. Shall we hop into our sponsor ad?
Sure.
Should we hear from Placeborix?
Yep.
Placeborix. Feeling a little under the weather? Tested positive for COVID-19? Diagnosed with non-small cell adenocarcinoma? The makers of horny warthog male enhancement pills, Plan A male contraception pills, and Beta Brain are proud to announce their newest over-the-convenience store counter drug, Placeborix. You can take Placeborix for any condition, real or psychosomatic. Side effects include nothing because it's really just sugar pills and saline solution, but you'll still probably think it's working. Placeborix, the perfect prescription for your hypochondriac ass. Please note, Placeborix is not available by prescription. Placeborix. Now, I understand you're a heavy user of Placeborix.
Yeah, I thought I might have overdosed a couple nights ago.
What was that like?
It's just a sugar high.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
My heart started racing and...
Yeah. But then you took more Placeborix because you're like, well, the Placeborix has got to fix this. Okay. All right. Now, David, I do want to thank you because you're the one who actually brought in the makers of Beta Brain originally to the podcast. And
Awesome.
Yeah. And I didn't hear what he said.
Off
I just said, yeah.
That's the brand. Yeah, the drug maker is off.
Yes.
Yeah, drug manufacturer.
So yeah, Beta Brain have now kind of trusted us with their second product launch here in Placeborix.
They just went straight through stage 3 trial.
They skipped them.
Okay.
Yeah. There's not
They're
actually
like, this
any.
is so important.
There's not a drug. No. There's no drug in it, so they didn't even have to get FDA authorization.
You're not supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was in the name Placeborix.
Do you know that doctors actually will prescribe Obicalp in a hospital to somebody, which is placebo backwards? Yeah, they're like, give me 25 cc's of Obicalp. And then someone's like, oh, thank God. They really do that.
No, I figured there was a mechanism for that. In fact, I've been prescribed medications by a doctor where I've just wondered, go pick up a refill, and I kind of want to ask the...
Now, don't Google this.
Right. Kind of want to ask the pharmacist, like, is this just like a sugar pill? Is this actually doing anything? Yeah.
Now, if you hear this ad, does that potentially influence the effect that Placeborix has on you?
It does both ways.
Yes, either way.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
That's just smart copywriting, too.
If you basically, I think from the subtext here that I'm getting is that if you can be swayed to buy horny warthog male enhancement pills or the Plan A male contraception pills, we can sell you Placeborix.
Right.
Unless you're diabetic, in which case you are not allowed to take
not recommended. Not recommended. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for buying another spot with us often. All right. David, bold prediction number 2.
I think we're going to start to see more ways to engage with content, easier ways to engage with content, and just generally seeing it to become more interactive. I'm thinking for our use case, like Vidyard actions, which we have incorporated in some videos, we're going to continue to do that more. But just more opportunities for people to actually take an action directly through video or content in some way, whether that's like leave a review by simply clicking on the screen, subscribe by clicking on the screen, or requesting a demo by clicking on the screen, right? It doesn't just have to be YouTube culture that's taking advantage of these. interactive engagement opportunities, more businesses can do the same thing, but make it more specific to their needs and to their benefit.
So interactivity in video players themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I guess maybe my bold prediction is that there could be a way where you can directly interact with like a programmatic ad that's fed to you while watching TV. I feel like this technology probably already exists, but it's not really taken advantage of. Like, I don't see why when you're watching an Amazon Prime show, why there wouldn't be some kind of segue into purchase this on Amazon.
Yeah.
Watching the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, why not then say, if you like this show, you might also like these action figures or these books or these DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever.
I assume because most people, at least everybody I know, watches TV or shows on an Apple TV, like streams. It's like on demand. And that's basically a little computer. And you have a remote control with a mouse pad on it. Why can't I, or in the middle of an ad, say, go to like a browser and view, like, see this product listing on Amazon or something? I'm just surprised that doesn't happen.
Or send it to my phone.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in the TV world about, second device kind of stuff, where you're streaming it on your Apple TV, but then you're sitting on your couch on your iPad or your iPhone, scrolling through stuff while you're kind of halfway paying attention. If I got my phone in my hand and I'm watching something, why not give me an option to, and it doesn't even, I think it doesn't even have to be like an invasive option. So like, is it Amazon Prime that has X-ray, where you kind of swipe up on it and then it shows you like the music track that's being played, the actor, the director, things like that. They could easily add some of that product placement stuff in there from that screen, where it's not going to pop up and like, invade or interrupt the storytelling. Yeah. But if you're really intrigued by something, you can swipe up and then scroll over to, that blender that they just used to make smoothies or whatever. And then you say, send it to my phone. And then the Amazon page lands on your phone. You swipe buy now, and it's on the way to you. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened already.
Right. X-ray is exactly what I was thinking of. And I think about it all the time when I see that. Like, why isn't Amazon integrating its own just e-commerce platform onto this? Because X-ray is essentially, I assume, it's just pulling from IMDb, which Amazon bought a while back. So, right. So it's just pulling that IMDb info essentially and populating that. Why not just throw their e-commerce platform on there too? So it would be surprising if that doesn't come, around the corner pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I love that idea.
And from a B2B standpoint or even B2C, but video and business, you're creating your own customer journeys through video. If you can, in fact, David, I don't think you're aware of this, but Justin and I had a conversation with one of our clients in the last couple of weeks where they in fact view some of the videos that we're making for them and some of the ones that are upcoming to be in this thing that they're revamping for their site, where you basically go through and you pick your pain points and they recommend their core solution and the add-ons around it. And they want, with each of those add-ons, to be able to hover over it and see a video for that little add-on. But imagine if we could program the player to basically be like, all through those three steps of the process, you actually watch a video and then it gives you the option, which one of these are you, right? Marketing, sales, customer success, or, whatever. And then you select that and then it shows you the next video that is specifically for that audience, that then gives you like your next three choices to choose from. And you kind of work your way down that funnel. And then at the end, you put in your email address to get like your final recommendation. That's an MQL that already has a very specific, product mix that a salesperson can then go talk to that person about. And you've guided them through it in an engaging way through video. Okay, let's keep this thing moving along. Justin.
Yes.
Your second bold prediction, or perhaps
your
third bold prediction, I suppose.
I think Salesforce will buy Vidyard.
Interesting. 2 weeks ago, were you thinking Slack would buy Vidyard?
No. No, but them buying Slack is what makes me think they're trying to become a more integrated communication tool as opposed to just a CRM. Mm-hmm. They've already got like, different chat features and stuff in there.
Yeah.
But this is just expanding upon that, and like it just feels like it would work really well with their ecosystem. Not to mention, their Salesforce Ventures was one of the. They were a part of the Series A for Vidyard, so they're already invested in it.
Yeah. I like that. I think it's a bold prediction. I think it's totally possible.
Maybe not Vidyard. Maybe they buy Wisty or like because there's so many out there, and I feel like there's so many hosting platforms or video communication tools. It's gonna start to whittle down a little bit.
Yeah, or I could see like HubSpot buys Vidyard.
Yeah.
Right? Like they already
have it
because they've already got that partnership that exists. But money talks. So, Salesforce may be in a better position.
HubSpot is crushing it right now,
to acquire. Okay.
So,
but yeah, I think that makes me so. I was saving one of many things for kind of my bold predictions on how this conversation went. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my possible third options here. I think you're going to see a continued I don't know how bold this is, but you're going to see a continued contraction of the MarTech space. So for years, up until very recently, you go to the Internet Summit or you go to Dreamforce or any of those, and someone's presentation has that list of all of the logos of MarTech products, right? Mm-hmm. In all of the silos. And they show this is what it looked like in 2010. And there were like 60 logos on there. And like, this is what it looks like in 2020. And there's like 6,524 logos all crammed into one page. I think, to your point, now is where we start to see the acceleration of the consolidation of all of those things. Because there's been so much opportunity that individual little specific
building niches
providers could go out there and gain audience and build technology. Now, because it happens with every industry, let's be honest, now you're going to see those players like HubSpot and Adobe and Salesforce, Marketo go in and start just swallowing up all of those specific niche players and just fold them into their offering. And you'll probably end up with 4 or 5 like completely robust enterprise level,
kind of placing bets in maybe different areas. Essentially, like some might be more communication, some might be more technology,
some may be more sales driven, some may be more marketing driven. I mean, throw Zendesk in there. I mean, where's there's a whole customer support play in there.
With all the subscription services out there.
And all of that is within the B2B space. And I just think because of the economic conditions of 2020 and what will lag in through the first half of 2021, a lot of those smaller companies are going to be very easy buys because they're going to start running out of runway. And these bigger companies can go in and make a really attractive offer. Where maybe in 2019, a smaller company could have gotten $1 billion. They may only get $500 million in 2021 because they're desperate for acquisition or capital or whatever it is. But, and some of them will fold it into their platform. Some of them will make it, just more of a formal partnership kind of thing with discounts and integrations and access, whatever. But I think that's I would put money on a contraction.
I like Adobe space too. I think that's smart because they bought Marketo not like a year or two ago, didn't they?
Yeah, something like it's hard to keep track of.
They've got some really robust like data and like even like the whole. I mean, what they started with, which was like media and creation, but then using that in various platforms for marketing and sales.
Well, and I could put Adobe with Marketo on the marketing silo. I can see Salesforce, especially with the way Vidyard has been going, on the sales silo. Right? I mean, they kind of like they have these all-encompassing products, but Adobe kind of came out of that creative technology into that CRM, but it's still all marketing, content automation, and things like that. So it kind of makes sense for them to just really dig their heels into the marketing space and kind of touch on the sales space. Whereas, of course, it's in the name, Salesforce has always been very much there for salespeople to, to keep track of who they're talking to, basically. I remember it in its early days. It was slow. It was required, and it was a pain in the ass. But I get it. There was nothing like it out there to keep track of all that stuff. So my turn?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with post-sale marketing, which is kind of the land and expand option, right? I think you're going to see that skyrocket because we've seen it skyrocketing this year because it's lower hanging fruit. But my bold twist on it is that because it's going to become more commonplace and more of a focus, it's actually marketing departments that are going to ultimately be held responsible for post-sale marketing. So I guess what I'm saying is marketing departments are going to see a shift in like front end of focusing on the front end of the customer journey, turning in MQLs and SQLs to sales, but then also having to come in on the back end after sales and be responsible for continuing to market to those people after the sale, where if there are 3 steps, marketing, sales, and support or success, it's going to be like marketing, sales, marketing. And then support is going to be there to support, but marketing is going to be expected and required to keep marketing to existing customers.
A lot of companies are shifting to a product-led marketing environment where they're spending a lot of their effort or putting a lot of their effort into the product itself to make it an enjoyable experience and keep people there, especially with like a 30-day free trial, those type, and then subscription services after that.
Yep.
It's going to be so much more important for marketing to be involved in that product because the 30 days is like, you need to make it sticky as hell.
Yeah.
And you need to make the experience enjoyable.
You and I were just talking about Crossbeam yesterday. How, because I'm the parent, like account owner on Crossbeam, I've been put into this email sequence. And like I got shipped a t-shirt and like, welcome card and whatever. And so even though you're the one who's going to be using it more day to day, just because I'm the one who signed up first under storyboardmedia.co, like I've gotten all of this outreach that you probably should have gotten because it's access to tutorials and how to find partners and things like that you could utilize more than I could. But that's a simple fix for them. But yeah, I also saw something somewhere that free trials are going to increase in the tech space in the coming year. And it makes those first 30, 60, 90 days of that free trial, you got to nail your onboarding. So as an executive, I could totally see shifting my customer success department from like maintaining accounts to just focus on getting them onboarded and hooked. And then I'm going to let the marketing department take it after that. But like your job is this onboarding for the first 30, 60, 90 days. And that's all I need you to do. And you're going to be measured by how many people convert from free to paid, basically. And then marketing is going to have to be involved in that because they're going to have to, just make sure that they get to that point. And then they're going to have to continue to reach out to those people once they become paid customers to then upsell.
Because every month there's another credit card.
Yeah.
I would just add to that as we discuss all the time, with the landing and expanding approach, your sales team is going to be the ones who are often delivering that content that the marketing team is initiating, right? Like they're going to be the ones directly communicating with the existing client, customer, checking in on them. Hey, how's it going? Are you getting the most out of this? Did you also know that we offer this feature set or that we have this product that does this that I noticed, I was doing some research and it looks like you guys could use this. So like they're going to be the ones delivering, whether that's video content or whatever. So just the communication between marketing and sales, as we talk about, is increasingly overlapping. Sort of their roles are increasingly overlapping.
I just felt a shiver go through a whole bunch of marketing department people's bodies hearing that they're going to have to integrate with sales more. Okay, what do we have? David, do you have a third one that we haven't gotten to?
I do. My third one is kind of it's related to the change coming in Google's algorithm that they announced, which they announced as Google's Core Web Vitals. So it's sort of nerdy, and I don't totally understand it, but essentially the bottom line of it is that Google's algorithm is going to be taking into account user experience on websites more, and specifically that pertains to like page load speeds and the speed, responsiveness, and visual stability of a page. So what does that mean in terms of the way that companies are going to prioritize what they're doing in terms of the user experience on their sites?
Means we need new hosting. Means we need new hosting.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And also like video hosting, for what we're talking about, you might start to see companies shifting towards video hosting platforms that, that push as one of their features or benefits that they can have video load on your page faster and cleaner.
I think I would totally, if I were considering this, I would totally pick a hosting provider that was advertising less 4K upload and embed ability. And I'd be more interested in like their speed. Somebody's got to figure out how to standardize like a metric for like load speed. But like 0.13 seconds for 100 megabytes. 100 megabyte stream. Or we've changed our buffering technology so that it starts to play the first 12 seconds while we buffer the rest of it. So like your video starts instantly, and we use that for like hosting platforms marketing themselves with those things as opposed to like 4K or like private embeds or whatever. I think you'd start to see some of that. Like that'll be a good indicator that is a shift, is when you start to see the hosting platforms kind of change to those kind of metrics that they're putting out there.
To circle back to your previous point about, let's say Salesforce acquiring Vidyard, Justin. If I'm Salesforce, I'm looking to acquire a video hosting platform like that. Maybe that's something that I'm really focused on. And how is the video hosting platform that I'm going to absorb? How is it going to improve the SEO of the companies who are actually using it on their sites? That could just be because apparently that's going to be a pretty seismic shift in terms of the way that Google's algorithm ranks your site.
So this one kind of reminds me of one of my possible third predictions. It's something I feel like I need to know more about, but literally what I wrote was the end of cookies ... So I've been paying just enough attention to know that like using cookies to track certain visitor data is going to be basically unavailable by like next year or something like that. But
was that a Chrome-led thing?
I think so. Chrome,
it's not like
Safari. No, it's not a government thing, but like they're basically just saying like we're not going to be honoring cookies anymore. So I know enough about it to know that that's a thing, but I've also started to see some headlines and some articles talking about the alternatives to that are actually going to be able to give us more personalized data.
Like brownies?
Yes. So essentially it's like you go from, yes, he got, you can laugh.
It must be the delay.
Yeah, that must be it. So yeah, David, and I just feel like the core, just because it's Google Analytics type stuff. Do you know any more about that cookies thing, or brownies?
Yeah, I read a little bit about blondies too, which have never been my favorite. I feel like they're just kind of a weak compromise between the two. Like either have a cookie or have a brownie. I don't know where blondie really comes into play.
Where do you land on lemon bars?
I used to really hate lemon bars, but now as I get older, it's kind of like things like coffee and like wine. You know, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of get it now. When I was a kid, I hated lemon bars, but now I have a greater appreciation for them. You know, because they really kind of balance out the sweetness with a little bit of tart and sour. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any other bold predictions for video and business for 2021?
Should you?
Well, I kind of did 4. So I started to do the end of cookies thing. So maybe it's 3.5. But I did the contraction of the Martech.
Okay,
space.
so that was your third. You had 3.
I had 2 or 3 that, depending on how the conversation went.
I have one more that's just kind of surface level. It doesn't really make a difference, but I think you are going to see in terms of like a lot of companies are going to be doing a kind of like post-pandemic messaging that will get a lot of people making fun of companies on Twitter and stuff like that. You know, kind of now that we're on the other side.
So
kind of
we're going to go from making fun of commercials that use the word unprecedented to commercials that use the word like new normal. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah, I think there's a no, we'll leave it at that. That's good. No, that was a good point. Okay, so why don't we hear from our sponsor again real quickly before we wrap up? Placeborix. Feeling a little under the weather, tested positive for COVID-19, diagnosed with non-small cell adenocarcinoma. The makers of Horny Warthog male enhancement pills, Plan A male contraception pills, and Beta Brain are proud to announce their newest over-the-convenience store counter drug, Placeborix. You can take Placeborix for any condition, real or psychosomatic. Side effects include nothing because it's really just sugar pills and saline solution, but you'll probably think it's working. Placeborix, the perfect prescription for your hypochondriac ass. Please note, Placeborix is not available by prescription. Placeborix.
Ask your doctor.
Don't ask your doctor. Placeborix, do not mention it to your doctor. All right, so we have had some bold predictions. We've had some italic predictions. We've had some underlined predictions, all for 2021. All interesting things to keep an eye on. I'd like to keep the theme of coming back in another year and seeing how spot on we were with some of these. My guess is we nailed some of these, like with crazy
all of them.
Specificity.
Should we hit them up one time, like a one sentence kind of thing?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So next year we only have to listen to like the last.
Yes,
3
but we won't
minutes.
remember that. So I believe, David, we started with your continued rise of user-generated content. Then we went to
Asynchronous adoption, especially as a management tool.
In-person events rebounding, but evolving into hybrid, live, in-person, virtual, catering to both audiences simultaneously.
And becoming more sophisticated in terms of the technology and production value.
And then, David, what was your second one? More ways to engage with content and easier, more interactive content. Custom events, actions, choose your own adventures, things like that.
Salesforce will buy Vidyard.
A contraction of the Martech space by acquisition, which was my kind of glom onto that. Post-sale marketing, land and expand, will skyrocket, but marketing departments will be held responsible. Your third?
And the impact that Google's shift to the core web vitals as a ranking metric will have on companies and the way that they prioritize their content and their hosting platforms, things like that.
Latching on to that was then the debate between cookies, brownies, blondies, and lemon bars.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's a strong finish.
Yeah, and then David added an even stronger finish after that, which was your final point of
that company. We're going to see a lot of messaging from companies about as we adjust to the new normal, the post-pandemic
Post new normal.
saccharine messaging we're going to get.
Yeah. Post-COVID, new normal, unprecedentedness. All right. Well, thank you very much, David, for joining us today. Justin, thank you for your contributions. I would like to thank all of you for listening to and watching the Video Reformation podcast. I'm Ben Oliver.
I'm Justin Plant.
And that's about it from us. We'll see you next time. Who's David? David, who are you?
Hi, I'm David Olson.
And now you're
all right. I want you, so you've got about a 1.5 second delay. So I want you to anticipate. We're gonna go through Ben Oliver, Justin Plant, and David Olson, but I want you to anticipate so that you kind of offset the gap here. Ready?
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Video Reformation podcast. I'm Ben Oliver.
I'm Justin Plant.
I'm David Olson.
Thanks so much for joining us. It was pretty close. That was good.
I like this. I like note cards.
No, I did like that with the TBR show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's strong.
That was good.